hey, can I get like a big old cock tattooed on my leg?
Wait,
I was
did
like,
you do it?
This episode is sponsored by Nguyen's Kitchen.
Make sure you check them out on Instagram. Today we got the crawfish pasta and the steak garlic noodles. They're everywhere, all throughout California, and they're open late.
Hey guys, I'm Mario.
My name is Peter.
And we're
Guys That Listen.
On today's show, we got the amazing Charlene.
hello, guys.
Tell us a little about yourself,
Hello.
Charlene.
My name is Charlene. I am a business owner. I own Painted Harts Tattoo Studio in Anaheim, California.
Yay!
Tattooer now for over 10 years.
Damn.
And
OG.
also a mom of 2 babies and one little wiener dog.
So how'd you get started into tattooing?
That is a loaded question.
Ooh, okay.
That's a loaded question. Like we go like way back into my artistic career.
Should we go back even further? When was your first tattoo?
When I was 19.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I waited a year. I was good.
Okay.
Which one?
What was it?
It's kind of like all mixed together, but it's this big one right here, my octopus
Uh-huh.
with the roses and a little pocket watch.
And your parents didn't trip? They didn't lie? You know what I'm
My
saying?
parents both have tattoos.
Oh.
Like little ones.
Wow.
But naturally, of course, they were like, okay, that's the last one. I'm like,
Yeah, of course.
okay.
Yeah. That's cool, though. So they were, like, supportive right off the bat, then?
With my tattooing career?
Oh, no, just, like, you getting tattoos in general, and then, of course, transitioning to the fact that you're
Yeah.
going to be an artist.
My parents, I would say, has always been really supportive of my
That's
careers.
awesome.
And, like, whatever direction I would take in my life, they were in my corner.
So
Not your typical, like, Vietnamese traditional parents.
yeah, that's actually
No.
what I was about to ask.
Yeah, that's the reason why I asked.
Very lucky.
Because you have it as like most, I would say, not just Asian but minority families, they want their kids to be like doctors, lawyers, like
Yeah.
kind of follow that traditional route. So it's really interesting that you say like, oh, I'm gonna be tattoo artist, mom.
I think when I was in junior high, my mom gave me a paintbrush and she showed me this empty wall in her living room. And she's like, I don't know, gone, like my child in Vietnamese. I don't know, gone, paint it whatever you want. And so,
so cool.
it just felt really freeing to have that type of creative power and also that trust, to create something that is in a common space like a living room. So I painted the walls in the living room, and from there, my mom set up like a little business for me because people liked it. All the guests would come in. All the people would love, our guests would love the wall, and they're like, can you paint my room too?
Whoa.
So I was in junior high doing painting entertainment rooms and
That's
What a
so
good
cool.
mom.
That's a really
like
good mom.
commercial like
What?
different like buildings and stuff like
So
that
you were doing
at a
that
very
kind
young
of business.
age.
Wow, for a while then.
Yeah.
I love that. That's like the kind of parent I would want to be,
I had a momager.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a good one.
Mom.
Wow, that was. I knew it was gonna go either way. Like either they were really supportive or they were really against it. And I had a feeling
Yeah.
probably more supportive because I'm Vietnamese myself, and my parents were not like that. My dad saw me draw something when I was like 7. He was like, "Oh, let me see that pencil," and he beat my ass with it. And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I guess I'm not drawing. He's like, "You better go back and do your fucking homework."
Oh.
And I was like, "Okay, I
Only
guess
you
I'll
should
never
be
be an
drawing
artist."
his numbers.
It's like
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
that tough love, right?
Yeah,
They
extremely.
mean well, but maybe it's just not in their time or generation
Yeah,
to see that as like an opportunity.
Yeah, they don't understand it, and like I don't know if it has more to do with the fact that they grew up like extremely poor, but they always basically reference it back to like animals. So like when I was like I think like 4 years old, I had like a fake Spider-Man tattoo, the ones that you buy at the grocery stores for like a quarter.
Yep,
You put it on with the water. Yeah,
You
my
gotta
dad.
like slide it in that little thing. Go.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you put it in, and you can't,
Yes.
and you try to take it off without like breaking it. Yeah, my dad saw it. And he beat my ass right after that, and then he was like, "You better not ever get a freaking tattoo. Like I'm gonna be so mad at you." And it's just, and then he would reference it back to animals. He's like, "Oh, who gets like things like this? Like animals would get branded. That's what. A pig would get branded. Are you a pig?
But it's the human branding. Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm not saying it's like rational, and I understand. Like now, I'm just like, wow, you're really extreme with it. Like same
Yeah.
thing. Like I got a lip piercing. Same thing. He was just like, oh, you know what gets piercings? Like animals get piercings. And I'm just like, great, dude. You know what I mean? Like I get it. You're disappointed in me.
Luckily, times have changed.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a different time, and tattooing now is a lot different than what it used to be.
Dude.
I'm getting parents who are accompanying their children, not children, but their younger adult child.
Like a teenager? Like a teenager?
Like 18?
At least 18 to get a tattoo.
At least 18.
And then they're looking at their tattoos and they want to get one themselves. I have a mom
Wow.
who secretly calls me to get tattoos and says, Don't tell Nick, okay?
What? Wait. Like, as in, like, she's gonna come
she's
on,
getting
like,
she's getting
surprise-
tattoos like with me behind her own kid's back.
Oh, I thought Nick was like her
fun.
husband. I was like, how the hell is she gonna hide that?
Oh,
Holy
you
crap.
came to the right podcast. Tell
Yeah.
us
I was like, please.
I love the drama. I have the scoop. I'm an open book.
Yeah.
more. Confessions of a tattoo artist.
Oh my god. I bet
It's
you had good ass
different
stories.
now. We see like tattoos like in workplaces
Yeah.
and like all different types of professionals. I tattoo doctors, nurses, lawyers, like everybody.
People work from home now, so it's like, holy crap, they don't care
Yeah.
nearly as much.
I mean that too, and even like when they're in the workplaces, they're able to show it off, because it's now a creative part of their, like I guess their creative expression. It's just I love where we're at, and it took a long time to get
Oh, yeah.
here.
Definitely.
I think that like television has a lot to do with it. After like Ink Master and like
Yeah.
shows like Tattoo Redemption, like all the tattoo shows,
Yeah.
it's just more widely accepted.
I notice this a lot more normalized. You see it in workplace. You see like almost anyone has a tattoo now.
Yeah,
Peter has a tattoo.
yeah,
He
the
just
tattoo.
got his first one.
What? Not
This
with
year.
me.
I was in Europe. Sorry, you weren't there.
It's okay,
so
it's
I
okay.
heard you were
I
booked.
forgive you.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring my tattoo machine to like surprise you guys. Like,
I
here
was
you
gonna
go,
say,
guys.
you know what?
Go,
I actually had that in my mind. I was gonna hit you up and be like, "Can you bring one?" And
I
give
would have been
Mario's
so
first
down.
tattoo
I was
on
Bro.
camera.
I was so close to
Dude.
packing
Live
machine.
tattoo
Dude,
right
on
now.
camera would be so
I would
sick.
have been down. Should have asked me.
All right, we
You're
know.
coming back. You're coming
Yeah,
back.
we know. Mario's getting his first tattoo on camera. Let's get
You
so
guys heard it
excited.
here first.
For the podcast.
Guys
okay.
that listen.
GTL one.
GTL podcast.
You have to get one too, Adrian.
Okay, just tattoo both of you at the same time, one with my right hand and the other with my left hand.
That's so impressive.
damn.
I'm not saying I could do that, but
Hey, this
saying
is
we
first time
could-
for
I'm
everything.
sold. I'm sold. So I noticed that like your family seems to be like your whole family seems to be creative. Like I noticed that you guys are very encouraging. I think it was like your sister like who does her own stuff too, and I was like, this whole
Yeah.
family is like so
Thank
creative.
you.
And I think I've told you before. I'm like, man, like I
Thank
love
you.
that. Like.
Me
Like
too.
a little jealous in the best way possible. I'm like, man, like, because like we're not like creative in that way. Like my family's supportive, but like we're not creative in that way. I'm
Yeah.
just like I see it. I'm like, that's so cool. That's how I want to be. Like I love that. Like where did that stem from? Obviously your mom like encourages you, but like did she get it from
Yeah.
somewhere?
Honestly, it's both my parents. So
Oh.
my dad's a tailor,
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
or was a tailor. He started
damn.
off as a tailor, and that's how he just made clothes for my mom.
Oh, wow.
And they fell in love because she's like, hey.
Really?
Oh, these booty shorts.
That's
Like,
pretty cool.
She was talking about some pretty cute stuff. So my dad had all the skills. But
that's
beyond that, afterwards, he's always just kind of built everything from his hands. I call him the Asian MacGyver.
Oh, okay.
Anything that you could dream of, he can fabricate.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he's.
pretty cool.
I
That's
want
pretty
to create a show for him because he's that good.
Wow.
Wow.
So his imagination's out there. He can just see something, visualize something, and then just make it happen. So I've always
Wow.
appreciated that about my
Dude, you should
dad.
totally do that.
That's
That'd be
great.
so
Yeah,
cool.
every like craft project growing up as a kid, when you have projects at school and they're like, you have to build a mission, like a mini mission
Yeah.
or something like that. He would just like go all out with me, and I would
Holy
be so
crap.
proud. So I think that's always stuck with me. Just how he took his time to create something, and that was his way of showing his love.
Yeah.
Was with his hands.
And you guys are creating together this whole thing. And
Yeah.
it's led you to be this whole creative individual.
Yep.
Like, did he create it for you, or he helped you out? Like, would he give you like advice, or like how does one creative teach another flourishing creative?
I think just by example,
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to teach somebody. It's just by just being about it yourself. So just him making things with his own hands, and that's his form of love. I think I've adopted that for myself. The name of my business is Painted Harts, and I named it that because it's art with heart.
Oh, I like that.
I was about to
That's
ask.
All right, tattoo me.
That's it.
He gets like a dick on his lips.
I was gonna say a heart. Sir,
My
it's a family
mom,
podcast.
my mom was a model.
Mom was a
Oh,
model.
wow.
Yeah, so she's always seen things differently as well. Like she's
Okay.
always had her head out in the future, looking for like new trends and whatnot. And she actually did home design as well. So she would always like look into the future for different trends. And I guess her ideas were always out there. And we would always like kind of like, I don't know about that, Mom. And she's like, watch. And then
And she was right.
oh yeah, for sure. She's got style. She's in her 50s and she looks amazing.
So you never had a chance. Like both your parents creative. Like you're.
Yeah.
It's
You
amazing,
know
huh?
what though? It's weird because growing up, I didn't think that I could have a career in art.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the time, you know, like growing up as a 90s kid and you just hear a lot artists are going to be starving when you start.
Yeah.
And that's always stuck in my mind because I'm like, I don't want to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
I was kind of like the golden child that, you know, with my family, just 4.0 student, you know.
You're
Oh,
4.0
wow.
student too.
Damn.
Dang.
4.0 and art.
4.0 and
It
artist.
was a little embarrassing.
This is why she got wiped up like 10 years ago.
I was president of my class since the 5th grade.
What do you mean since the 5th grade? As in like you stayed
every year you're
president?
the president?
Since like from 5th grade till 12th grade, I was the president of my
What
class.
the heck? You're like the perfect Asian.
Yeah.
Until I became a tattoo artist.
See, 19 years old is when everything
Yeah.
changed.
But you know, my parents always like stuck with me, and I think that they didn't see me being a tattoo artist as something that would stick, but
Oh.
it's something that I just had to follow.
So how did you end up pursuing like?
I know it's such a like. How did you even?
Yeah,
how did you
because
even
like
start?
okay, so you get your first tattoo at 19, right?
Yes.
And then you pursued tattooing at.
It goes back way beyond that, I think. So I started off as a face painter when I was doing.
Oh, I
Yeah.
kind of see that transition.
Cute.
Yeah.
What,
When I
like
was
an
in
Oxford farm?
ASB.
Wait, really?
When I was in ASB, we actually went to go do a lot of charity events. We would go to visit different hospitals and soup kitchens, and everybody had their part in bringing in something that we can take to play with the kids. And I was like, well, I guess I'll try face paint. You know, I think that's something that kids will like. I've seen it before at theme parks, and it seems to always make them smile. And I just remember painting my first ever like child at this soup kitchen right here in Santa Ana, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And I painted, I don't remember what it was, but I painted something on her cheek, and I didn't even have all the tools to show her what it was. So I showed her a picture on my phone, the reflection on my phone, and she was so happy. She ran over to her mom. She's like, "Mom, look, look how pretty." And that just melted me. And that was the beginning of everything now, I think.
Wow.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
so heartwarming.
Yeah.
You went from temporary face paints to permanent ink.
Yes. From there, I was a body painter. So I would paint at like clubs. I would
Wow.
paint like models for Playboy Mansion. And
Whoa.
I actually did a few shows too, like on stage performing live, live body painting. I remember them asking some of the club promoters, like, "Hey, can you come and paint some of our models?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I would always just try to push myself like another level. I think it's just like who I am as a creative. You know, like, hey, what about if I painted them live on the spot? You know, because painting a model from toe to head, that takes about like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
And that process for me is really exciting. So I think it would be really cool to show like the guests at a club, especially those who aren't like dancing or just kind of just relaxing, enjoying the event. They can see live art in front of them. So that started a whole new element to Painted Harts, was live body painting at shows. And
Wow.
yeah.
So
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like gradually gone. So it wasn't
Gradually,
like
it wasn't like painted
painted
a 5-year-old and now tattooing adults.
Yeah.
So you are a mother now,
Yeah.
and the way your mom treated you, like, do you plan to be the same way too?
I've taken a lot of notes from my mom. I'm really grateful for her because I really think she's an amazing mom. But there's definitely things that I've taken from modern parenting too, and I've applied to kind of make my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what?
I guess
Gotta ask.
just encouraging communication. Growing up in like a Vietnamese household, I think like my parents, as much as they've tried, themselves growing up with their parents. They didn't really get that opportunity, I think, to express themselves fully.
Yeah.
And just words wasn't something that was used, and maybe you can attest to that.
Yeah.
Peter's like, you're talking about my life right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so crazy because then your background's a little bit more different than mine too, right? Because like, yeah, we're both Vietnamese, but your parents were very supportive, especially in the arts. You know, I told you, mine is the complete opposite. My parents are extremely strict. My dad beat my ass all the time. It was just like totally different family dynamic. But yet somehow we still have that one thing in common, and that's communication. You know, like me and Mario talk about it, like I feel like every episode
we
Really?
always get into this.
Yeah, we always get into it, and I feel like this is like that
It's deep.
like past trauma that we're trying to, you know,
Work
like
through.
get past, you know. And now you're saying, because you're actually the second parent that we've had on the show ever,
Yeah.
and you're mentioning how you want to take that modern like parenting
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna put and implement into what you do with your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's crazy because you'll be the first one in your family to bridge that gap.
And it's a struggle, honestly,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm learning as, you know, I'm teaching. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of times where I feel like, you know, am I doing this right? Is this how I do it? So a lot of the nights after working, I'll come home from like work tattooing till like 2 a.m. and then just be in bed for another couple hours, just looking at all the blogs and parent posts about,
Yeah.
you know, like how to communicate effectively with your child, you know, how to calm down a tantrum, like
Yeah.
how to express yourselves in a way that makes them feel safe and heard and things like that. And I don't think that's something that that I had growing up that I wish I would have.
Yeah.
I actually I remember what it was. I saw something where it talks about the best parents are the parents that actively try to better their parenting. You know,
Yeah.
it's not always the ones that know the most. It's the
Mhm.
ones that are actively like, you know, just like you're doing. Like they're
That's
reading these
true.
articles, they're checking these books. Like, how can I be better for my child? How can I teach them better? Those are the parents that, like, down the line, are the best kinds of parents because they're actively trying to improve themselves and their relationship with their child.
Right.
You know, and I see that, like, I noticed that, like, we talk a lot about like generational wealth, and a part of it is like that we don't probably talk about as much as like generational like mental like health, where it's like we are building upon the mistakes of our parents that they made, because you know there are some are immigrants, some are minorities,
Yeah.
some are doing the best that they could with like the information that they had at the time. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
we're so lucky to be like part of this new modern like generation where we have access to the internet, we have access to these
We
other
have so
people,
much.
and we're learning like all these ideas, and we're
Yeah.
like, okay, like obviously like our parents like couldn't do this, and like, you know, we don't blame them for these things, but like now we do
course.
better. You know, now we
Yeah.
know.
And sometimes it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just having access to all this information of how you can better yourself. And
Yeah.
oftentimes I find myself in, you know, in situations where I'm comparing,
Oh.
you know.
Yeah, that's rough.
But at the same time, I am thankful for it because it gives me, there's like a checks and balances there. You know, I can check myself and, you know, see that there is always room for improvement. As being a parent, as a person, there's so much I've learned from being a parent.
Nice.
Yeah, just kids.
Yeah.
Kids. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced.
Wow.
It's truly the most, like, now I know what my real passion and purpose is. Before I just lived and breathed art, you know, tattooing, and I still do, but like after having Bristle and Hazel, my 2-year-old and my 4-month-old, I'm like, this is it. Like, this is my reason.
Wow.
I know it's something that you hear all the time with parents. You know, you hear other parents before you're a parent, and you're like, "My kids are everything." You hear, you're like, "Oh, that's sweet," but like, that's really sweet. Yeah, but when you're in it yourself, you're like, everything in the world just kind of stops, and you're like, "Oh." I think it's because you have someone's, you know, children that are so special, so pure, that you want to give them the best possible.
Yeah.
And like as a person, you're always growing too, as
Yeah.
a parent, as a person, because they push you to be better. You know, there's some days where I feel like really defeated, very tired, balancing a business, working late nights to coming home to be a full-time mom during the daytime. That can be really, really tiring.
Yeah.
But you know, when they're calling for you, they just push you to rise to the occasion every time, because you cannot falter.
No, you can't.
There is no, I'm sorry, I'm taking a day off.
Wow.
You know, so they push you to like, all right, let's do this. Let's go to the zoo. What do you want to do today?
Oh, holy cow.
And you can't show them that like you're tired or like you don't want to do this. It's like, you're the mom.
I mean, some parts of it. I think that I think before looking at my parents growing up, I noticed that they would shield a lot of things from me, like how they would normally feel about certain things, like their hard work. They'll always like brush it off, like, I'm fine, gone. Or if they're sick, I'm fine.
Oh,
Or if they're working late and like, how are you? Are you okay? You need rest? I'm good, gone. But now I'm trying to take some of that experience and then applying it to now. I'm like, what would I would have liked to hear from my parents? To make this feel more normal to them. So I would let my daughters know in ways like, Mom needs a 1 minute break. I'll let them know. Mom needs a 1 minute break.
Mommy
Let's
needs a
go ahead
timeout.
and have you have this, play with this thing or be busy with this activity while Mom takes a minute to think about my emotions and my feelings.
Oh, is it ever? Mommy just needs to drink this shot right now. Like,
Never on the job.
Mommy needs to finish this
Never on the
bottle of wine real quick.
so don't mom and drink is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, I know that we're talking a lot about you being a mom and your balance as like a businesswoman, just like time for yourself, your kids, your family as a whole. And if you feel like you could barely ask for like a minute off, you're married, right?
Yes.
So you have a husband, and between the both of you, and you feel like you barely have any time off. So how does he play a role in this?
I love my husband so much, and I think this is why we make such a great team. And it's because we realize that there's a season for everything. We've been together now for 11 years. We just celebrated our 11th anniversary of dating. Married for 3.
Cheers.
I'll
Cheers
definitely
to
cheers to that.
Congrats.
Thank you. And then we just started having kids 2 years ago. So that we've had a lot of time and opportunity to learn about each other and our parenting styles, and we've had our time to party and range it up, and also time for ourselves to work on our careers and whatnot. And this is just a season for locking down and being the best parents that we can. And it's because at this age, children, they're so fragile. It's just a very crucial time from now until I think about 13, but honestly, forever. To where it really matters, like what you do and how you act and how you parent really affects them into their adulthood. And we know that, based off of our growing up and wishing some things, were a little different, and we're always checking each other at night, like, hey, I said this to Bristol the other day and I wasn't so sure about it. What do you think? So we'll like check in with each other and make sure that we're on the same page. But our time for each other, we'll get that time when the girls are asleep. And that we also have those moments where when we're so tired, but we're all together and we're cuddling up on couch and reading them a bedtime story. Chris is holding, our 4-month-old, and then I have my 2-year-old in my lap, and we're just reading a bedtime story in the book, and we'll just look at each other from between the book and be like, this is why.
This is what it's about, huh?
Yeah.
Wow,
That's so
crazy.
It's always like, okay, I wish we had more time for each other. But we've had a lot of time for each other, and now this is time for us, like as a unit, as a family.
When you think of that moment, do you think like this is love?
That is absolutely life. This is life.
Wow.
This is love is the bonus.
Wow, that's crazy. I've never heard of it like that. Wow.
I know.
That's 'cause you're toxic.
Deep.
I wish I can like implant the feeling into.
No, I kind of feel it. That's like I actually felt like
me too. I was like, ooh.
the authenticity of what you're saying.
I'm warm and fuzzy now.
Yeah, even I kind of felt like that, and like my heart is black as fuck. So it's like, I felt like I was in a Disney movie for a second.
I'm gonna try to make a baby tomorrow.
I almost considered it. Almost. But wow, no, like I've never heard anyone describe it like that. And it's funny because like you're saying, like whenever you talk to your parents, they're like, "Oh yeah, my kids, I love them." And it's funny because actually, like I rarely hear that. And I'm not trying to change like the way people might see it, but like as I've grown up, I've actually heard the opposite most of the time.
Really?
Yeah. Like I remember my first experience with a parent where I was like, "What the fuck?" I was at work. I was at Sunglass Hut. I was still trying to sell people sunglasses. You know what I mean? Try to get those shades for them. But yeah, I had this dad come in and like he had 2 kids and they were running around. They were flipping all the sunglasses over, and of course I looked at the kids and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then like the dad's just like, "Hey, stop doing that! Hey, stop doing that!" And he looks at him. He's like, "Don't ever have fucking kids. My life is fucking over." Yeah, and then he was chasing them around, and then they split up, right? And I was just like, "Holy shit!" And then obviously like he didn't fix any of the sunglasses, so I was like, "Fucking asshole." So I put back all the glasses, and I was just like, "Damn, dude." And then,
I really am not having any kids.
yeah. That to me, I was just like, wow, like maybe that was just a special case, you know?
Yeah.
And then like I ended up becoming like a server, right? I worked at King Crab with Tiffany, your cousin, right? So then I would see like parents bringing their kids, and the kids would just run around throwing food everywhere, and I'm just like, "Hey, control your kids." And they're like, "We're trying to eat here." I'm like, "What the fuck are your kids trying to do that?" And I would see like these, maybe because like I'm not saying that I'm jaded, but like I notice those things a lot more, and I think it's just human nature to notice like more like the negative times than the positive times.
Right.
Because like again, I would go, and this is me as an adult. Like me as a kid, I would never see that, and I think it's because adults were really good at hiding it, or at least the adults around me. But then I would grow up, go to like weddings, go to bars with like people who are like 20 years older than me, and they would tell me like all the same things, like don't have kids, don't get married. Like, are you married? Do you have kids? Like, don't do it. And don't get me wrong, like that doesn't really sway me either way.
Yeah.
It's just more interesting. I'm like, wow, that sucks, because like you feel like that, like now that you have kids and you're married, you like your life is not yours anymore. Like that's not really up to you to tell anyone that, because like that's the decision that you've made, you know?
Right.
And like here I see you see all these other things, and I'm like, wow, I see, for one of the few times I've ever heard it, like that genuine like motherly voice where you're like, this is not even just love, like this is life. And I was like, I just witnessed like you basically recite poetry in front of my eyes and like freestyle. You know, so I know you mean it, and that's where I'm like, okay, I can kind of see it now.
I think you melted his heart.
A little bit, you know what I mean?
His ice cold heart.
Yeah, I mean it's not that cold, but you know what I mean?
I get what you mean though. Like that's something that I've always heard. I mean, even still, I'll be taking both my daughters to the park, and other parents just kind of, just doing their best, honestly, because that's just what they're doing. They're just doing their best. If you see a parent out there struggling, it's probably just in that moment, where it looks very, chaotic. But sometimes I hear that type of talk about how parenting is like terrible. You don't have your life anymore. And honestly, that perspective needs to change. That needs to change, because if your child gets wind of that, if they ever get a feeling of that even or hear that, I feel like that's really really damaging.
It is, for sure.
I think it's a privilege to be a parent, and I know that a lot of people out there are trying to have families, trying to conceive, and maybe have difficulty with that. And for me to be able to experience being a parent, the love that is a child, bringing up a child, that's something that I wake up just stoked on every day.
Okay, so just to kind of like be devil's advocate a little bit, do you think that
love it?
Yeah, sorry,
Sling
it's just the way I think sometimes. Like, do you think that there's such thing as bad kids?
I don't think that there's ever such a thing as bad kids.
Have you ever seen that movie with Macaulay Culkin?
Stop.
I think that Home Alone. I felt like the parents weren't paying attention to him.
It's actually not Home Alone that I'm talking about.
Which one?
There's another movie that he's in, and I think it's called The Bad Son.
Oh.
And don't quote me on this because I'm terrible at fucking names.
Adrian will find it.
I've never seen it.
So this movie, literally, I saw it like a year or two after I saw Home Alone. I thought it was a sequel. Right? It's Macaulay Culkin. He's playing some. Yeah, he's playing
big time
Richie
TV
Rich's
star.
Christmas Wish?
No. I'm literally telling you, it's called The Bad Son or something like that. And like he is like the fucking spawn of the devil, right? Like this kid is just fucking like just terrible. He's like pure evil. And this is Macaulay Culkin, the same kid from Home Alone. So I thought this would be a lighthearted movie, but it's not.
He'd play a really good mischievous kid.
Yeah. So at the very end of it, the mom had to choose between, like, he was falling off a cliff, and it was just him and his cousin. And he actually put his cousin there. So they're both hanging on a cliff. And the mom had to choose between her own son or
saving
like the cousin. And she at that point was like, wow, my kid's a fuckhead. So she let him die.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So this is like a thriller.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was not ready
That's
for
not
that.
what I was
You see what I'm
expecting.
saying?
I was
Like-
not ready for that.
Like, I don't know. Because I feel like, like you said, there's no such thing as like a bad kid. I'm not saying this is like the majority. Obviously, that's not the
Yeah.
case. But I do think there are some people who just don't come out right. You know what I mean?
A lot of things I could say like stem from your roots, like how you're brought up. So this is why little things like tantrums, when my daughter has tantrums, because they're gonna have it. She's 2 right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's a terrible 2, but we just call them big emotions when she
Yeah.
has them, and it's just practice for us to teach her how to deal with those emotions, and for herself, how to calm down, take a moment, breathe, be able to place what it is that she's feeling, and not have to, have it come out in an explosive way where she's going to do something eventually as an adult, as a young kid, that she's going to regret.
Yeah.
I think it's important as parents to show in parenting that there's a cause and effect for everything. For every action, there is a reaction.
Yeah.
And to have that your actions carry weight. And I think you can do the best that you can as parents. And it's not that kid is bad. It's that for my personal thing, it's a chemical thing too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think that you may just catch them at a bad moment, where they react in a bad way, and before you know it, their play says constantly, that was bad, you're a bad kid, you get time out, and they get all these names pointed at them to where, I am a bad kid. In that movie that you were watching with Macaulay Culkin, were people telling him around him that he was evil or he was bad?
I honestly don't remember because I was so young when I watched it, and I was just like in shock because I was like, holy fuck, this is so different than Home Alone.
I think that's me.
Yeah, so I think like they didn't really like so much point it out, but they knew something was really off about him.
Yeah.
And like I've never had a kid of my own, so I can't say, but I've definitely met some kids like when I was younger that have some problems, and I don't know if it stems from like literally just since they're born or from family, but I mean I hear some. So I have a friend in like Child Protective Services, so I hear a lot of like crazy stories.
I bet.
Some that stems from like the family, like the parents, mainly from the parents obviously, but some from the kids, and it's just like, holy crap, like where does it come from? And you never know, because like I feel like the question of like, do you believe in bad kids? It's almost like, do you believe in bad dogs? Right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will deem dogs as like there are no such thing as bad dogs, just bad owners.
I
right?
believe in bad kids, but I don't believe in bad dogs.
Okay. see, and that's the thing. Like I want to say that like I believe that too, but I think like inherently we all are like we have a primal self too, and not everything has to be like rational as good or bad. So sometimes we don't know, and same thing with dogs. I've heard the story of, well, not even like a story. I knew someone this happened to. He's had dogs for his whole life. He took care of this dog. It was a German Shepherd. He took care of this dog, very, very kind of like passive dog, and he really liked it because he could take it around other dogs. And then he's had the dog, I think maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And one day, the dog just went crazy and like bit him on the head and like dragged him around the house. The guy's a small dude, so he was getting dragged around, and then he just had no idea what triggered it. It was just like insane, like so out of character of the dog, And I feel like I'm not saying that kids will do that because like it's very rare for kids to be out of character for no reason. But I feel like the way we interpret certain things as kids, it's hard for us to rationalize if it's good or bad in the way that we're outputting our actions, So I mean, again, there's a lot of ways for us as when we're kids to interpret things. Like I I talked about this recently with Mario. Sorry, this is gonna sound terrible, especially after we were talking about kids. But
It's okay.
but okay, so I grew up with like a bunch of gangsters, right? And my aunt at the time, she was like in a gang. She was 16, and I was like 3 years old. And I remember a lot of things when I was 3. Maybe
Yeah, you
when I was
can.
2 too. Yeah.
Same here.
Like very vividly, right?
Yep.
And I remember she like locked me in a room and she like played porn. Like she played like a porn video. It was like
It's
a cartoon.
traumatizing.
See, that's the thing, right? Like to me, I never thought that because it's just not
Just
something I
normal.
understood. And then like the people that I would share that with, that were my like significant others, they were like, "Oh, that's why you're like fucked up in the head," you know. And I'm like, "Oh wow, I never thought about it like that." You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's like weird because I never thought it was something bad. So to hear that like what I was doing is like maybe fucked up in the head was news to me. You know, so like now as an adult, I'm like, okay, I can see why that might be strange. Like, I was thinking certain things,
Yeah.
Right.
but you know, like when kids act up like that, maybe they didn't think it was bad to do that. It's kind of like the same
course.
thing when kids like flirt when they're younger. Like the girl that was like beating up on bullying Mario when he was like super young. Maybe she thought it
Aw,
was
you
like
guys go way
question.
back.
well, I mean, I just heard that story, but we do go way back then. But it's kind of like that, you know. It's like kids, they take it a lot and they don't know like how to interpret it.
Yeah.
And sometimes like good or bad, it's not what they're thinking about. That's just what they want to do instinctively.
So I have this idea of myself as being a parent, and I feel I'm going to be a great dad. I've known that since I was like 14, 15, like just it's a very intrinsic part of me. But there's this like fear where I'm like, what if my kid is just naturally bad, like just like a bad kid? Not even a bad kid. Like I can
Yeah.
deal with like tantrums, all that and stuff. Like I know that. But what if they're a bad person? You know, and then that's like a little fear that I have where I'm like, I try my best to like, you know, be a good parent, be like, you know, who this child needs in their life, you know, but they still turn out bad. And I'm just like,
Do you feel like you've seen that before, where it's like, wow, their mom dad's so good to them, and this kid's a complete little shit?
no, I actually haven't seen that.
Very. I want to say rarely because I don't want to say I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But always can I pinpoint it back to something that's happened in their childhood. And I think in the cases that are, you know, you're kind of illustrating, you know, the perfect parents, you know, parents are doing their best to apply everything that they can to their children, but they
Yeah.
still kind of turn out a little, a little different.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with like something like chemically or like in their brain.
That's what I
Yeah.
think too, though. That's exactly, and that's the part that scares me, where I'm like, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, what if
Yeah.
my child
It's not
comes
on
out
you.
like,
Yeah.
I know, like, you know, aggressive, like extra aggressive than normal,
Yeah.
you know, like, so that's one of the fears that I've had, like, not even as a parent,
Course.
just like, is like, you know, I'm not a parent yet, but like one day,
I still have that fear,
'cause
honestly.
you don't know yet.
And that is the love and the most weight that you'll carry as a parent. It's
Yeah.
just not knowing, because you have something so precious and you want to give it your best and you want to pour everything into that love and like watch it grow, but there's always that fear of like, is this gonna work out?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing my best? Is our kids gonna really grow up feeling, you know, safe? Or they're gonna be like good people,
Yeah.
you know, have good morals and
Yeah.
things like that. But that will always be a challenging thing.
Mhm.
I don't think that will ever
I don't think so. either.
change.
It's honestly just a part of life too. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
you can apply the
What
same
if?
idea to everything else, where it's
Right.
like, you know, nothing's promised. You know, you don't know how
Right.
life's gonna go. You know how your business is gonna go. How like everything.
Right.
You know, and we just try our best.
Call it like blissful ignorance, but that's just me. And if not wanting to pay attention to those thoughts when they do arise,
Yeah.
you know, like thinking like, am I going to be a bad parent? Like immediately I try to like, you know, push that down, because it's not helping me be a better parent to
Yeah.
them or helping them be better in that instant. It does no good.
I don't think that's blissful ignorance. That's a conscious pruning. You are pruning bad ideas and unhelpful thoughts in order to, you know, create this kind of like better version of yourself, a better parent, you know?
Yeah, I like that.
You can use it. So I was going to ask you, you know, now that you're a mother, you have 2 kids now, do you miss the single life, the being, the freedom, the attention, the ability to do like whatever you want, going to the club, shaking your ass, like.
Who says she does that?
Is there? Because I've had other
Yeah.
friends who have kids now who tell me about like the death of singlehood. Like, yes, you've been with your mans for like 11 years,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but there's still like a difference between before you get married, before you have kids, where you're still able to go like and do these things that you wanted. Like, do you feel that?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I make the time and space for being the full person that I want to be.
Oh,
Parent
nice.
is a part of it. I'm also an artist. I'm also a daughter.
Mhm.
I'm also, a friend.
Mhm.
So even though like being a parent takes up like most of my heart and most of my time, I still think it's important to show my children that I am still living out my life too.
Yeah.
And still like seeking out my passions and seeing what that's all about, making time to hang out with friends. And there are things though that I feel like, okay, I can put that in the past.
Like what?
I don't
Like
miss
what?
it. Just the late nights, so just going out to the clubs with your friends. So like 4 a.m. then getting tacos at 5 a.m.
That sounds fucking amazing.
It's like Peter's Tuesday.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, there's a season for everything. And
Uh-huh.
like between Chris and I, my husband, and we talk about that sometimes too. Like, hey, do you remember when we used to do this, this, and this? We'll talk about it for that moment, and then we'll go back to today what Hazel did when she gave you that smile. That was just the best.
Okay.
So I'm like, this is like a new chapter that is even more exciting to write into.
Yeah.
So I can like look back into the old chapters, read about it a little bit,
Yeah, you experienced
reflect
it.
on it, and be like, that was cool, but I'm ready for more.
That's
Like
awesome.
ready to move on for other things,
Okay.
and to make time for fun every now and then, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think balancing is something that I'm always going to be working on, as a person, especially as a parent, when you feel like, you wish you had more time.
Yeah.
But that's something to always be like aware of, balancing your time.
So kids, no clubs.
Yes, clubs when it's appropriate.
Okay.
No,
okay.
okay.
Making sure that you're safe, because you have to come home to your kids.
Yeah. Got plan time
It's
for
mom's
it.
night out.
Make sure Uber.
Yes,
Go in big groups.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta know.
We talked a lot about your married life, kids, and everything, but tell me about single Charlene. Tell me about your crazy stories. Because earlier you mentioned you had little crazy stuff going to happen.
Honestly, that's where my crazy stories lie in like my adult life when I started tattooing, because I didn't go out of my shell until I started, I guess putting myself out there in the tattooing world that is a little bit darker.
Ooh,
Yeah,
really?
so I'll tell you about that, because my dating life isn't really as fun.
Okay.
I felt like it wasn't that I was sheltered. I sheltered myself. I was like that good kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
If I stayed out, it was because I'm working on backdrops or like working on something for like a teacher conference up until like 6 a.m. the next day.
Oh shit.
So my I guess nightlife didn't really start until college.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really, I don't know. I guess I was just really like focused.
No, that's normal.
But when I started tattooing, those are the stories that are a little wild.
All right, go on.
It's not really like single dating like Charlene, though, if that was what you were wanting to
No,
learn
just
about.
tell
Yeah.
your crazy stories is normal. Like if the tattoo one is what
Yeah.
fits with you, tell us that.
So when I used to, okay, let me reel it back. So just picture this. I'm 19, turning 20, starting to get into the tattoo world in a time where not a lot of female tattoo artists are like out there. There wasn't really many female tattoo artists to look up to at that time. I had a couple amazing friends that like showed me the way. Danny G from Hawaii, shout out to Danny G.
Hey.
Danny
Bob
G.
from Bad Influence Tattoo as well. But I was basically adopted into a shop, OC Tattoo by Eddie Tana. He's the owner. He gave me a shot. I looked like I could be selling them cookies. I think I brought a box of donuts as like a peace offering. Like, hey, will you accept me as a tattoo artist in your shop? Here's my portfolio. And I'm pretty sure a couple of the guys thought I was selling donuts.
Really?
Because at the time time, it didn't really look like a tattoo artist, you know?
You had
I mean,
one
what does a
tattoo
tattoo artist look like now anyways?
Yeah, one tattoo at the time already? Or?
Yeah, I had like some tattoos.
Oh, okay, got it.
So we used to work next to the library.
Which one, Huntington Beach Library?
Sir.
Oh.
The one you the one you frequent.
The library. And let me tell you, Taco Tuesdays are good.
I was about to say that. Yes.
Taco Tuesdays.
Oh, funny thing is, he's the one who showed me that. Like,
Wait.
yeah.
I forgot.
And I always
he
tell
like
people.
pushed it back into his,
I repressed that memory.
The tacos are really good though. That taco. I even got their card before. I'm like, you know what?
yeah.
We're gonna cater my events.
Yeah.
I would just have a lot of stories of like going out late because I would just tattoo with the boys till like, I don't know, 2 a.m. And this is when I was still dating Chris, but we consider ourselves single in a sense where we don't have a responsibility to come home. We don't have children to come home to, you know?
Oh, that's a totally different definition of single. Holy cow.
Well, Chris and I, like, we see it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like, we have complete trust in each other. If he wants to go out to his strip club, fine. That's not really his thing anyways, you know? But if we were to go, we'd go with each other.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
with a group of friends.
I get what you're
That's
saying.
normal.
I get
Yeah.
what you're saying.
We'd get people coming to our shop drunk from the library.
Oh, wow.
Asking for tattoos and stuff like that. Hey, can I get like a big old cock tattooed on my leg?
Wait,
I was
did,
like,
did you do it?
oh, like, you know, he wanted like a rooster, but he was like, can I get a big old? He would just look at me like the only female in the shop at the time and be like, can I get a big old cock tattooed on my leg? And I was like, sir, if you can do 20 push-ups right now, I'm gonna do it on you. And he tried. He got on the floor. He was so drunk, but he tried and he like couldn't muster 5. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't tattoo you. We would just mess with them all the time. People who were coming like, you know, inebriated.
How did you know that he meant like a rooster?
Because he was describing, you know, with the big old feathers, but he just meant like he wanted it to be like in my face about a cock with feathers.
I would still be very confused. I would be like, what?
I mean, I don't know many people who'd want to get. There's some people out there.
Yeah, I feel like there's always someone
each
for anything.
their own, but that's not for me.
Are there been some strange tattoos that you've had to do? Like, are there any weird ones?
Yeah, there's this amazing lady, cool French woman, totally inspiring. She comes into the shop and she goes, I want to show you something. And I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. What is this sweet, you know, older like woman gonna show me?
Older is in like 50s?
Older, yeah, for mid 50s
Okay.
maybe. Older French woman, and she's like, come to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I come with her to the restroom, and then she like pulls down her pants a little bit and shows me a little tattoo by her groin, and she's like, I'm not afraid of pain. Can I get a snake wrapped around my boob, biting my nipple? And I'm like, yes, you can. I am the right person to give that to you. I just love it. I love it when like older people come out of the woodwork who, you know, were once in a time where they were feeling like they couldn't show tattoos as women. You know, women having tattoos is not really a thing for especially women now in their 50s. And her coming out about it and be like, I want a snake wrapped around my boob, biting my nipple. And I'm like, power to you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can see the symbolism there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I did it.
Holy shit.
So I did it, and I learned a lot of things about her. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I learned from the people that I tattoo.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that's crazy. You said like you gain a lot of wisdom from time to these
Yeah,
people. And is
for
it mostly
sure.
like through conversations or is it mostly?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
Okay, so how I see the tattoo art being as amazing as it is, tattoo art to me isn't the final product of, you know, the ink that you see on your skin. It's the art of the whole process. It's the whole experience.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is why I tattoo in a private studio. I really love to make my clients and canvases feel safe and comfortable and a place where they can express themselves freely. But I feel like when when I have them in my chair, you know, and they're already vulnerable and giving me all their trust. Think about it, you know, like you're meeting a stranger and you're asking them to put something permanent on you.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some net of safety of some sorts, especially if I'm working on a sleeve or a whole back piece. Like, we're gonna get to know each other
Right now.
for hours. So there's a lot of intimate conversation that goes on, like in the chair, and really getting to know that person, learn a lot about the subject that I am tattooing. So I'm always coming home with stories, you know, things that I didn't know before. You know, tattooing like double mastectomy, breast cancer survivors and whatnot, and just a woman that I'm going to be working on a sleeve now. She's also in her fight against breast cancer, and she has a goal to climb the 7 like biggest summits. And she wants to get,
that's fucking awesome.
like Everest and like all around the world. So she wants to get a sleeve of all the mountains on her arm. So
cool.
I just like to learn. And I think that when I get to tattoo them and have that connection with them as I'm making art, it helps to make a better product. You know, and you guys probably attest that too, you know, getting to learn from all different people here in your chair. And
That's 100%.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I get the same thing for hours.
Yeah. So, sorry, I have one extra question, and just, you know, going back to the whole like tattoo thing, right? And now that I'm like a tattoo owner myself, I had a question.
I gotta tattoo you.
Yeah. Please,
I think
please.
I have to come back and bring my tattoo machine.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that has to be a segment.
Okay.
Write it down. Okay. You guys.
Mario?
He hesitates.
guys that get tattoos.
I gotta think about I got that
Okay,
clean cut
okay.
look right now, you know?
Bro, just
Is it
somewhere that no one
hashtag
see
eat
it.
ass?
Oh, that would be such a good tattoo.
I'm a fan. I know.
That would be such a
I'm all
dope.
getting it.
My question was, for me now that like that I've gotten a tattoo, I'm not even joking this time, that I don't personally think that not every tattoo needs to have a meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that there's such a thing as like bad tattoo requests where you're like, why the hell?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And which one is the worst one?
Absolutely. All cap.
Okay, yeah.
And it is my duty as a person on earth to share, hey, let's not.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some tattoo ideas that are just like outrageous. And
Example.
So for the audience, they would know in the future, like, why you should not.
there's some bad tattoos out there, and it's there's a lot of it that could be stopped from the source. If you are
Okay.
100% willing, like, this is my idea, I really want it, because, you know, this is just who I am as a person, just a spontaneous person who gets weird tattoos, power to you, because I am not the person to judge. But there are tattoos where I'm like, I feel, based off of our vibe, that you may regret this in like 20
Okay.
years, and I don't want that string to be connected to me.
Yeah.
So that's when I like, okay, let's redirect. I'll very calmly and very politely, let's redirect. Let's think about the key elements that you'd like, and then let's figure out a design that's going to work for you that you can carry on to your 70s and 80s and still look badass, not be something like,
Not a feathery cock.
Yeah.
Can you give us some more context as to what you're talking about? Because, like,
yeah.
obviously it has to do with the person too, right?
Yeah.
Because this tattoo on another person might work, but it sounds like for this specific person, they weren't exactly sure why they're doing it, but they wanted to do it, and you thought this seems like a bad idea.
Honestly, okay, most of the time when the person is getting their tattoo for their first time, they always try to put so many elements into their first tattoo because they really want to make it significant.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
think about it. Like, this is my
Yeah.
first tattoo. I want a shield to represent my family. I want a tree to represent the wisdom of my grandma. I also want a remote control because I love Nintendo. And somewhere in there, I want the zodiac animal of a pig because that's my mom. So how can we make this into a sleeve?
Oh, crap. That's crazy.
Yeah, that used to stress me out a lot when I first
That
started
stressed me
tattooing.
out.
Yes. So like I've been doing this for over 10 years now,
Yeah.
11 years now actually of tattooing. And then I now can, look at that and be like, okay, this is their first tattoo. Let's reel it back because in the end of the day, speaking up as an artist is really important. There is a responsibility as an artist to make sure that you give them all the options so that they're not later, filled with regret. So simplifying it, I would say, is the best thing to do. Like, less is more in a tattoo concept.
Yeah.
There's definitely ways to still make it be significant without it being like a cluster of craziness.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I've always been curious about that because
You've seen some weird tattoos.
I've seen some weird ones.
I've seen some dancing M&Ms like across the torso.
See, like that's a awesome story because I'm like, sometimes I question like what kind of people do that.
And it's
then when
the
you told
artists
me-
that don't say anything.
Yeah.
The artist is like, okay, sure, bro.
Yeah. Because I've
That'll
seen
be
some
$200.
shit. Yeah, exactly.
So
I see some shit where it's like, damn, can't you just say no to it?
Yes.
It's kind of like,
So don't get my
Yes.
ex's name tatted on me? Or-
okay.
Yes.
How often is that a bad idea to like get your boyfriend or girlfriend's like?
To each their own, unless this person is your spouse, I would highly suggest to not get their name tattooed on them. only because of all the years in this profession has showed me that most of my cover-ups are of names.
Oh.
And there's like a stigma about it, like being bad luck. Like names that you can get are like your kids' names,
parents.
like your parents' names.
So
but
you
like,
and your partner
Pets.
don't have each other's names?
no. Oh God, he's in agreement with me too. So thank goodness. Like we would
Okay.
never get
Yeah.
each other's names tattooed on each other. But we would get something symbolizing each other.
Okay, that's
know?
cool.
Like-
yeah.
That's
Like a
some-
paintbrush and whatever he's into.
I tattooed my first tattoo on Chris.
Oh, wow, your first
really?
tattoo ever?
Holy crap.
Yeah.
You guys been
Whoa.
together. Yeah. it's
Yeah,
been a
my
while.
very first tattoo. I
That's
cried.
awesome. Wow, you cried? Did he cry?
He didn't cry. No, he was playing like the PlayStation. He was playing video games.
Oh,
There was like
that's
cats
awesome.
roaming around. I was living at we were renting from like this home at the time. We were tattooing on a dining room table.
Oh wow, that's sick.
Sick.
I love that. That's so tight.
Well, that's like the real trust.
I know, that
trust
is.
test, right? Like let your girlfriend tattoo you.
Yeah, no, that's
Damn.
crazy. And going
And
back
that's
to
why he
that,
married her.
that's really funny because like the reason why I asked that too is because I had an ex that like whenever we would like get into a big ass fight and break up or something and get back together, she'd always be like, "We should get our names tattooed."
Okay.
And I'm just like, I'm always like,
That's
why?
where it starts. See,
Is
this is
it?
what I'm saying. This is just.
I mean, thank God I didn't. But
this is
Jesus.
just my like personal opinion, but I feel like there's always something to prove if you're trying to get your girlfriend or boyfriend's tattoo on them. I'm not saying husband or wives,
Yeah.
that's something different, but like for people who want to get their husband's or wife's name or their like date of wedding, that's fine, but like girlfriend or boyfriend's name, I feel like it's like I'm getting your name on my wrist because I want to show you how much I love you.
Yeah.
Versus just showing them. Why don't you just show
Yeah.
them without getting a tattoo?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think there's always something to prove.
Yeah, that's why I was
when
blown away. It always happened
you're
after
getting-
we would like break up or get into a big argument.
Caroline?
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
I'm not gonna say who, but yeah. But and then I just
Let's
don't-
get
Tell me after the
tattoos,
show. Tell me after the
babe.
show.
No,
Let's
it-
get really drunk and just get
Oh,
tattoos.
no.
No, it sounds like such a terrible idea.
Yeah, I
Same thing.
know.
I had a friend who would get a tattoo of like all of his girlfriends. I think he has
Yeah.
like 3 of them.
That's fucking weird.
And I'm like, at this point, are you fucking collecting all your ex's
Oh.
names? Because I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing?
I've seen some funny ones where they
Yeah?
like cross them out.
Oh, that's kind of creative with it,
But
though.
like being in a tattoo shop and working like amongst other tattoo artists back in the day, I'd see
Yeah.
some really creative cover-ups of names, and it was funny because in our conversations, the back room would always be like, "All right, so what are you gonna cover that up with?"
Oh,
Or, like,
really?
what was the name?
Yeah.
And it's always something crazy. But I had a really crazy name cover-up, like right above this person's vagina, basically.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
What was the name?
Oh, I can't say because it's a dead giveaway.
Oh.
But it was
Long name
it
or
was-
short name, though?
It was a long name. Like this person definitely goes by a shorter name, but
Yeah.
he insisted that he wanted his like fuller name above there, and
Like,
Oh, so it was his idea.
yeah.
So his full
Like,
name or his first name?
branding. His full first name, which is pretty long.
Oh.
Yeah. And so covering that up is like that's a tall order.
Fernando.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you your opinion on this, right? Do you feel like the person asking for their name to be tattooed on their body is crazier, or the person who just tattoos your name on their body crazier? You know what I mean? Like let's say like your significant
Yeah.
other just gets your name tattooed one day and they show up and it's like boom,
I
or
think
like
the
let's
person
say
requesting it.
person requesting it. Okay,
I
Yeah.
say both.
Yeah.
there has to be one
You're
that's a
crazy
little bit
enough to
more.
go through with
Or-
it. You're crazy.
To go through with it, I almost feel like they also see the options of, weighing it out. Like, okay, I can always get this like laser removed or covered up, and
That's a
if
big
this
ol'
if
effort.
this person really wants it, I'll do it.
Oh,
Yeah. I've seen
Yeah, I
that
can- I
too.
kinda
yeah.
get that.
It's like, okay, I
Thank
can just
God.
get it covered up. Just get it small.
Yeah. Okay. Thank God I said no. Jesus Christ, I can't even imagine.
Were you close to saying yes?
No, I don't think I was. I think I
Good.
agreed at one point because she had asked so many
Oh.
times, and I just knew that it was never gonna
You
go
just
through.
get like a big old Q on your like heart.
Oh, thank God it was not Q.
Oh.
That's kind of giveaway
Edit
too.
that out.
Yeah, but I mean, it was also like it was like my longest term relationship. And it was just like really weird. But
Yeah.
that time I just didn't know. I just didn't understand how she came to that conclusion. Like
Like that you guys were at a spot to get a tattoo of each other's names.
just like we just had gone to a big ass fight, or we just got back together after like breaking up. Like, why would we get something permanent when we feel so temporary?
It has to do with the significance of it. I think there's just a big display of love. Like, how do you show this person that you really love this person to get something as big and as permanent as a tattoo? And I think that's why a lot of people get like
Wow.
tattoos of each other's names.
Yeah, I guess my unconditional love and my attention and all my care doesn't mean anything.
If
but
you get
I
my,
know, right?
right? It's just like weird. It's
if
like,
you
this-
get my name, I'll get your name.
all right, I'm down. I'm down. You're just asking for trouble now.
I'm just here as a tattoo artist to let you know also that is a bad idea.
No,
So
definitely.
I'm gonna be the homie and be like, no.
I appreciate you. I appreciate
We
you for
appreciate you, Charlene.
Look
You've been
that.
amazing.
Yeah, you've been awesome. You've been literally probably the most wholesome guest we've ever
the
had.
most wholesome guest
Yeah,
we've had.
we love it.
Oh, I loved you guys. Thank you guys for having
we
me
love you.
on. That
Thank
was
you.
that was
Thank
a really
you.
fun chat.
All right, guys, welcome back to Lightning Round, where we ask our guests some rapid fire questions. If she cannot answer on time, she has to take a drink.
Okay, I'm ready.
Charlene,
I'm
are
ready.
you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, 1,
I'm ready.
2,
Okay.
3. What is the weirdest thing you've ever done? Drink.
Immediately.
Oh, you know what though? Mario mentioned that if you
I've done a
don't
lot of
answer-
weird things.
Oh, you still have to,
you still have
you
to
still have to
answer.
answer.
Okay. Weirdest thing I've ever done. Weirdest thing I ever done. I don't know, man. I did some weird things. My daughter rode on my back this morning, and I was a Brachiosaurus, and I was wearing a party hat while playing Coco Melon in the background. So I think that's pretty weird.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay, you killed that.
Weird.
That's some weird
Nah,
mumbly
that's
stuff.
what I'm saying. That's weird in your 30s.
Most romantic thing you've ever done?
Oh, I set up a massage for my husband just coming home from work.
Oh.
But there's a lot that goes to it. I think that it's just from being tired and everything after a long day when your cup isn't as full too, but just like showing each other in those small ways that you can still
Yeah.
give them energy.
100%.
Nice.
I think that like that's different for us because the small things for us go a long way. And every moment that we spend with each other, you know, is significant or is the best moment right there and right then.
Yeah.
So,
Your most embarrassing moment?
did I? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was. Oh, okay. So I was having to say a speech for like being the president, freshman president, or something like that, and I had to like do like a little skit or show to try to be the, you know, I think I was running up against 2 other people, and you had to make a skit to be the president. And I remember taking out a boombox, and I was wearing sunglasses, and I just like got out on the stage, and I put the boombox down, and immediately, like when the music turned on, I started sweating. I don't think visibly, but like to the point where my sunglasses fogged up. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, but here we are in front of a class of like 600 people.
Holy
this is fine.
cow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is fine. I ended up getting it, so that's all that matters.
It works. Yeah.
It works. They're like, she really put it out there.
Yeah.
They felt bad for me.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Oh, just not being able to speak when I want to say something sometimes. I'll hesitate and think twice about it.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
your favorite child?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, drinking. I don't have a favorite child. I can't even answer.
Your favorite meal?
Pho.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah.
Solid meal.
Alright.
Solid.
Go Peter.
Tacos is second.
Oh.
Love tacos.
If you had one last tattoo to give, what would it be?
Cock.
A rose.
A rose.
Yeah, my
Okay.
first tattoo I ever did, and I want it to be the last if I had a
Okay.
choice. I love roses. I can do them all day.
Okay, crazy. If there's one tattoo that you have that you'd remove, what would it be?
I don't have any tattoos. I have no regrets.
Oh.
No regrets.
Okay.
Congrats.
If your kids got tattooed, what would be the last thing that you want to see on their body?
A cock.
Like the rooster?
A cock.
Okay.
That's
This
gonna be
goes
a real-
full circle.
It's just for my kids to replay back in the day so that they can really know that I don't want that on them.
Okay. That's fair enough. You can use that as footage. Other than being a tattoo artist, what other artist would you be?
What other artists?
Kind of artist.
Yeah, what kind of artist would you be?
I would love to get back into the guitar because I was in a band growing up.
Oh,
And
nice.
I played the guitar, acoustic guitar now, but I would love to sing and like be on the stage like my dad did.
Oh, wow.
You're so
Okay,
cool.
Yeah, I know. It's like the cool family. Like, holy cow. If you had to tell me there's like one rebellious year of your life, what year was that?
Probably when I was 19.
Oh, when you
Yeah.
got your tattoo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys, that concludes our lightning round. I want to say thank you to our so creative, so wholesome guest, Charlene. Let us know where we can find you.
Painted Harts on Instagram. That's painted Harts. Painted Harts.
And thank you guys. If you guys made it this far, we appreciate every single second you guys are listening to us. Make sure you comment and subscribe. Let us know what you guys think about the episode and what we should talk about next. But never forget, live fast, eat ass.